Now, even more interesting was Senator John McCain's analysis. Now, if you don't remember who Senator John McCain is, and I don't blame you, he has basically gone into hiding after the election, with the exception of a couple of key choice phrases that he made in public. His reaction was that, hey, I've never seen this happen ever on the floor of the Senate, that anyone is denied the chance to speak. Here's what he said.
I've been around here 20-some years. First time I've ever seen a member denied an extra minute or two to finish his remarks. And I must say that I don't know what's happening here in this body, but I think it's wrong.
John McCain thinks it's wrong. And this along the long line of strange comments from John McCain, is it not?
Joe's with us today. Joe, where are you? Where is Joe? Is Joe here with us today? Joe, I thought you were here today. All right. Well, you're all Joe the plumber, so all of you stand up.
Well, I think it's a very intelligent, so I think it's and I believe that I can.
Okay, so John McCain continuing his bizarre statements. Now, that statement at face value isn't crazy, right, Lewis? John McCain thinks this has never happened before. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like where things are going on the Senate. Perfectly reasonable, right?
I suppose, yes.
Okay. However, it turns out that it has happened before, that one senator has objected to another having extra time. Not only has it happened before, it was John McCain who had that same objection. And this was a couple of years ago. It happened with an objection from John McCain himself. He objected. So he doesn't remember it ever happening before. It was actually him who did it. He did it. And Rachel Maddow uncovered this. And it's kind of funny that apparently this was missing. When this came up in the archived C-SPAN tapes, this little bit of John McCain had gone missing. C-SPAN said the reason was that they were changing tapes. This is before they had digital, so they had to record onto 60-minute tapes. And just when John McCain was objecting, the tape, they had to change that tape. I don't know, Lewis. We don't know C-SPAN to be particularly partisan, but C-SPAN did get it together, and they actually found it. And here it is.
I also, and I'm not a legal scholar, but I cited in making my comments, the opinion of the counsel at the Library of Congress, the Congressional Research Service, which opined, and I realize that lawyers and others can change
Your time is expired.
As for unanimous consent, I might have 30 seconds to complete my objection.
So that you heard that. I object. That's John McCain's voice coming from the back of the Senate, objecting to giving someone 30 more seconds. Now, I know, Lewis, Joe Lieberman only asked for a moment or two, and this guy was asking for 30 seconds. It is totally different, right?
Well, a moment or two for Joe Lieberman could be another 10 minutes.
It could be another 10. You're absolutely right. Joe Lieberman is on a different, I don't know. He keeps time in a very different way. And for him, a nap is sleeping 9 hours, right? I mean, he's operating on a completely different scale of time.
So either John McCain's being a good politician here, or his memory's starting to go.
The real question I have is, did someone at McCain's office know that this clip existed and had C-SPAN strike it from the record until Rachel Maddow dug it up? Or is it true that at the one time in history that was going to be pointed to where John McCain actually did the same thing that he said he's never experienced before, the tape goes black? I don't know. I'm not much into conspiracy theories, but it is funny, if nothing else.
I think that would be too much of a coincidence.
Bill O'Reilly, we know, doesn't like Al Franken. He took this opportunity to criticize not only Al Franken, but also liberals in general. Anytime that Bill O'Reilly can do that, it works for him.
Now, the Franken deal shouldn't surprise anyone. The man's a hater, always has been. But it illuminates why the far left is despised by most Americans. That kind of behavior is uncalled for. There's no reason on earth why Senator Lieberman, an honest man, should not have been given another moment or two to finish his remarks. Franken's actions were mean, petty, and disrespectful. Americans, generally speaking, don't approve of that kind of behavior, but that's what we often get from the far left. Just look at their websites. Just look at...
Okay, so no surprise there from Bill O'Reilly. He is completely comfortable just making stuff up.
Even the poor have color television sets and pretty much everything they need.
There you go. I didn't, before I heard that, when he first did that report, I didn't know that poor people in the U.S. all had color televisions and pretty much everything they need, as Bill O'Reilly says. I didn't know that there were no veterans living on the streets.
Right.
You'll
right.
remember that. And even though veterans heard that and they came and called his radio show and said, I'm a veteran and I'm living on the street, it didn't matter because Bill O'Reilly knew that that didn't exist. And it also doesn't exist that there are poor people who don't have everything they need. They simply do.
Well, you know what? Bill O'Reilly is omniscient, I guess.
On a press call Monday morning with reporters, RNC Chairman Michael Steele said that, back to healthcare, by the way, I know we've gotten off on this tangent with John McCain and missing video footage. RNC Chairman Michael Steele said that the Democrats' effort to pass the healthcare bill is equivalent to flipping the bird to the American people. And we've heard strange commentary from Michael Steele before. I don't think it matters anymore. Since he didn't get kicked out from his position as RNC chair already for some of the stuff he said, like when he proposed his own healthcare plan, I think he's staying. And here's what he said.
It just annoys and irritates me on something so fundamentally important that this Congress, this leadership is so tone deaf and so hell-bent on propping up a policy that the American people doesn't want, that they're willing to basically flip the bird to the American people on this issue and slip it in the dead of night.
There's really no arguing with what he said. You either believe that you either subscribe to the type of thing Michael Steele is saying or you don't. The one thing I do want to mention is he says they slipped this in the dead of night because this was voted on at 1 a.m. on like a Saturday night in the Senate. The reason that happened is because of the weeks of Republican filibustering and extending debate and preventing debate. That's the reason it eventually got to a weekend at 1 a.m. Hypocritical, completely hypocritical. Or am I wrong about that?
Well, if you know, I think he'd deny that that's the case, that the reason it happened then is because of Republican filibustering.
What would he say? What he would say?
Well, he certainly wouldn't
we just
admit
need
to it.
discussion.
He certainly wouldn't admit to it.
You're right. He certainly would not admit to it.